In this episode, we're going to explore the music and the talent of a young man who had to leave the United States to find both his voice and his success. Now, 1967 was a very tumultuous time for America. The Vietnam War was raging, and the draft was on. Now, there was a sensitive young man from the South who got drafted, and he decided, no, I'm not going. I'm going to Canada. So he did. And let's find out who he was. Let's drop the needle. In 1967, being a draft dodger was a very polarizing thing in America. The youth movement and the hippies, they thought you were a hero, while the establishment and the conservatives, to them, you were a criminal. It was certainly a dilemma for many young men. In 1969, somebody had this great idea to change the draft into a lottery. And so what it meant was your birth date would decide your number in the draft system. And I remember this very clearly because I was working at the radio station at UCLA, and I was on the air when the lottery started. So my job was to walk over to this big Associated Press teletype machine and rip the pages off as they were coming in and go over and announce on the air a birth date and the lottery number associated with it. And of course, being in a college radio station, everybody was listening because everybody wanted to know if they had in fact been drafted, because the lower numbers meant you were going. So I'm sitting there on the air and I'm reading the numbers off. And by the time I finished my shift, my birth date had not shown up yet. So I left the station and went back up to the dorm at UCLA where I was living. Now, when I walked into the dorm, in the lobby of the dorm, they had set up a big whiteboard. They had the radio station on, so the guy that came after me was announcing the dates, and they had written up there the date and your number. And basically, if I don't remember the exact number, but if you were like in the top, in the first 150, you were going to Vietnam. So when I got there to the dormitory and I looked at this whiteboard, they were already up to number 75. Now, I was feeling pretty confident because, when I left the station, we were at 50. I was free to go. But as I scanned those numbers, all of a sudden, my life changed, because right there on that whiteboard at number 62 was my birth date. Now, number 62 meant, student deferment or not, I was headed to Vietnam. I panicked. I was adamantly against the war, so I knew I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I thought about going to Canada. But as it turned out, my father remembered, and he was a vet, that I had an injured ankle when I was a kid. And he said, maybe you should go have a doctor look at that. And so I got a medical deferment, and fortunately I stayed in school and did not have to go to the war. As I said, it was a very turbulent time in 1967, and one artist who decided to run was Jesse Winchester. Jesse was a child of the South, born in Louisiana and raised in Mississippi. He started playing guitar while still in high school. However, in 1967, as many of his friends were just beginning to plan their lives, Jesse's took a dramatic turn. He got drafted, and he ran to Canada. Once in Canada, he started writing songs and playing his guitar at coffee shops. He released his first self-titled album in 1970 with the help of his friend and fellow Canadian, Robbie Robertson of the band, who produced the album. And the album was engineered by Todd Rundgren. Talk about star power for a first album. And Leon Helm and Robbie Robertson both played on the album as well. It includes the now classics Payday, Biloxi, That's the Touch I Like, Yankee Lady, and my personal favorite, the brand new Tennessee Waltz. A personal story about the brand new Tennessee Waltz. First time I heard Jesse sing it, I loved it. And then 20 years later, I moved the family from Southern California to Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, now you're in Tennessee, and I get this thought about, I'd like to try to play the banjo. So I bought one, and this is actually that banjo. It's been in storage for years. But I pulled it out, and I tried to tune it. Close. It's missing a string. And I wondered if I could remember how to play the Brand New Tennessee Waltz and how to sing it. Now, my banjo playing was never great, very, very rudimentary. Am I singing? Well, I haven't sung in years either, so this is probably going to be painful. So I'll try to keep it short. And I don't even know if YouTube will let us do this, but I thought they may block it, but I thought it'd be fun. So let's see how far I can get before I mess up. The Brand New Tennessee Waltz. When I leave, it'll be like I found your love, descending Victorian stairs. I'm feeling like one of your photographs, trapped while I'm putting on airs, and getting even by asking who cares. At the Brand New Tennessee Waltz, you're literally waltzing on air. Whoops! At the Brand New... All right, that's enough. Yeah, okay. Go listen to Jesse's version. It's a great song, and it's from a great album. And the album hit number 26 in Canada, but it didn't chart in the US. It's released on a label called Ampex Records, the guys who made the tape. And they also released an album by Mason Prophet, which was a great band from Illinois. Perhaps there'll be more about Mason Prophet in future episodes. For his next album, Jesse followed that up with Third Down and 110 to Go. Jesse decided to produce this album himself. It contains the great Isn't That So, Full Moon, Do It, God's Own Jukebox, and All Your Stories. It was a hit in Canada at 34, but only reached to 193 in the US. Jesse's third album, Learn to Love It, came out in 1974. Great songs are Every Word You Say, L'air de Louisiane, Mississippi You're on My Mind, and the great Defying Gravity, which Jimmy Buffett had a hit with later. Jesse followed this album in 1976 with Let the Rough Sides. Big songs are the title, Damned If You Do, It Takes More Than Hammer and Nails to Make a House, and a reprise of the Brand New Tennessee Waltz. But don't worry, I'm not going to try to play it again. Sadly, the album didn't chart, but in 1976, President Jimmy Carter issued an amnesty for draft dodgers, and all of a sudden, Jesse Winchester could now tour in the United States. He did many concerts and appeared on TV's The Midnight Special. In 1977, he released 2 albums, Nothing But a Breeze and Live at the Bijou Cafe. In 1978, he followed that with A Touch on the Rainy Side, an album he recorded in Nashville. And this is the last album from Jesse Winchester that I have. He continued to record until 2015, where he died at his home in Virginia. His last album, A Reasonable Amount of Trouble, was released after his death. Jesse's songs were pure, his voice was clear, and his heart was full of motion. And I'm so glad he was able to come home and to find some success. And I'm so glad he left us all of this great music. So check out Jesse Winchester albums. You'll hear a lot of wonderful songs. And in the meantime, keep a rockin'. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm available with the banjo for weddings and bar mitzvahs. If you liked this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out. Most of the albums that I talk about can be found at your local vinyl store or on eBay. Individual songs most likely are on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music, or even some on YouTube.